So greetings. We are at ResPack conference at the Lalit Hotel, and we have with us Kaushik Nag from Jupiter Laminators, who is the CEO of Jupiter Laminators. Thank you so much for doing this. First of
Pleasure
all,
mine.
what a wonderful presentation we had back in the first half of the day. So a quick encapsulation for our audience of what you presented and what you spoke about, just for our benefit of our viewers.
So it's basically flexible packaging in last maybe 4 to 5 years is an evolving subject. It's a new evolving subject considering today's compliance, considering new norms of within India, new norms maybe in US, maybe new norms in European Union.
Yeah.
So it's an evolving subject, which was never the case. It was more of a stagnation. But I think in last 5 years, this journey has been undertaken by us, and it's a subject which is being discussed mostly in every forum, and that's keeping us engaged in exploring newer ideas, newer technologies, and how the market can move further, looking at the current challenges and the requirements.
Yeah.
So in that context, my presentation was all about the sustainability journey
Yeah.
as to how packaging can contribute to the end user in the form of circularity, in the form of new challenges, in the form of interactive packaging in order to improve shelf life. In every given front, wherever food packaging can contribute in many verticals is something which I basically talked about, and I brought in a holistic view about it, what can be done, what is being done,
Yeah.
and what cannot be done due to various challenges and other complexes.
Yeah. And since we are at the subject, since we are at the conference ResPack, the name itself suggests responsible packaging. So, what, according to you, what is responsible packaging for you? What does it mean to you, and what is the importance of responsible packaging?
See, if I put it in a one-liner, responsible packaging is nothing. Responsible packaging is a collaborative effort. We are a processing house. We basically buy raw material and we supply it to the large brands. So it's basically a very collaborative effort wherein
Yeah.
responsible packaging has to be looked from the eyes of every given stakeholder who is a part of the
Yeah.
process. So whether what a brand needs to be understood by my partner like a raw material supplier as to what is that he needs to give me to make sense to my final brand, be it technically viable or the bigger challenge is commercially. Even if
Yeah.
I have a technical product and it doesn't make commercial sense,
Yeah.
that becomes null and void.
Yeah.
So I would say responsible packaging is nothing but it's a collaborative effort of all stakeholders coming to consensus and driving up the subject called responsible packaging.
Yeah, of course. And you alluded to the modern food packaging, and of course, before your presentation, Professor Dr. Shivaram, he gave a presentation, and he said he basically urged the industry to reduce or to not use recycled content in direct food contact packaging applications. So because we never know what might be harmful, so he urged the industry to wait for a couple of more years to get the research done. And so what are your thoughts, since you spoke about modern food packaging, what are your thoughts on that front?
See, I think in recycled content, I think in food packaging have been growing in a very, very minuscule. It has been a very gradual headway which we have all made.
Yeah.
And not that in recycled content in food packaging hasn't been very significant contributor as yet.
Yeah.
But it's again a very subjective term. Unless and until you take baby steps
Yeah.
and you start realizing as to where the gaps are, you will never be able to get going on this area
Yeah.
because again, as I said, this is a subject which is evolving. It's a subject which is unknown to many.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there are regulatory, there are compliance houses which are closely monitoring, and they are definitely certifying certain things which they have validated. So I think it's all about people putting their minds together and understand whether we are aligned to what is needed or there are still gaps. If there are gaps, those needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
So this is what I can say about using a recycled content or not use a recycled content. This is
Yeah.
my take on that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of emphasis in your presentation was on flexible packaging and how the market is being transferred from rigid to flexible packaging. And of course, one prime example is right here. So if you can just elaborate more on this example, and I have a few follow-up questions to that as well. So what was the idea behind moving to flexible packaging, and why are brands uh, moving away from rigid to flexible?
I won't say brands are moving away from rigid. Rigid, wherever it has to stay, wherein flexible cannot make sense. I always keep saying that every packaging process has its own space. You know,
Yes.
if
Yeah.
flexible is taking away share of rigid, maybe the rigid is taking away space of something. So every given packaging has its own domain and presence.
Yeah.
Flexible obviously is an advantage for
Yeah.
various reasons. Obviously, flexible, to my understanding, is a cheaper format.
Hmm.
Flexible obviously takes lesser space, whether it is be the logistics, whether be it on the shelf. These are, I think, the two key areas, because today India is a cost-driven market, or it is a price-driven market. So any given brand owner or final consumer would look at two things. Obviously, the quality of product,
Yeah.
look at a convenience, and obviously look at the aesthetics. So today, just the technology exists in flexible packaging, and you can see a pouch like this, which is as good as, you know, a container.
Yeah.
So obviously, it can definitely make a relevance to it, and not only Saffola Gold. Maybe if you see liquid detergents, you know,
Yeah.
if you see a large quantum of liquid detergent like Surf Excel, Ariel,
Yeah.
they have all moved to very large size, large pack size flexible packaging, which predominantly used to be in rigid.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's as I said, flexible packaging over a period of last 5-10 years has really evolved. You know, it has brought in technology, it has been able to provide robust material, it
Yeah.
has a complete supply chain. So it is something the industry has matured, and the brand owners have been looking at alternatives, and that has created a space for people like us to put flexibles against rigid.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, it's a domain centric
Yeah,
approach that the
see
brands
again,
have.
if I take a little detour, I would say I'm in an industry wherein we are having gravure printing presses, but that doesn't mean the offset and the CI flexos or the digital doesn't have a space.
Yeah.
For every given item, for every given applications, there are various ways and means to look at it. So as I said, every given packaging format has its own space.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
what today the consumer is a different consumer. What used to be 5 years back, it is not the same consumer. You know,
Yeah.
today's market wants to relate with packaging. Market wants to see something new coming up on the shelf.
Yeah.
So it will always keep evolving for next 5-10 years. It will not stop here. So I'm sure what you get to see today, and when we meet next in ResPack, I think, you know, it will be a different story again.
Of course, yeah. And one of the important crisis that you alluded to in your presentation is the India's food waste crisis. So, how can high barrier packaging solve this crisis or fix this issue that we are facing?
So if you look at my slide, I think that's the number which is there, visible to everyone. I think yearly almost 92,000 crores worth, you know, food products is basically getting spoiled, or it is not being actually reaching the plates where it should be. So it's a subject which remains completely unattended. We are talking
Yeah.
about growth. We are talking about people not getting to eat in a country like India, and wherein you have 90,000 crores worth food items which is getting wasted and which could have been used in more sensible way and would have
Yeah.
reached the right people at the right time.
Yeah.
So if you have to see that, it is forget about the barrier. A basic packaging, barrier is the second step. A basic flexible packaging can always solve this, basically the lacuna which today exists,
Yeah.
by the virtue of addressing it, the complete supply chain.
Yeah.
Where exactly are this packaging required? In what format today these materials are finally moving through the supply chain is something which needs to be understood. And if people like us, people like the regulatory, people like the government, if we can all come together and see as to what best can be done in the interest of saving these losses or minimizing these losses, I think can be a win-win for both the government, for the country, and for industry like us. So this is a golden opportunity to work together on this subject and bring in a comprehensive solution.
Yeah. And previously, when you were alluding to different formats of packaging, active packaging was one of the things you touched upon in your presentation. You said that it's still in an infant stage, but the work has begun. So, for our viewers and for me, I would like to understand what is the work that has begun, and if you can, do you have any examples or case studies which you can share with us?
See, active packaging is something which is, as I said, it is top of the iceberg, but
Yeah.
it is like today, if you see in the market, when you go, you pick up any product, hot
Yeah.
or cold, you know, typically meat.
Yeah.
If you want it on a frozen, you have a color coding system which gives you a clear picture whether the color what needs to remain with the product, does it exist or it has changed. If it has changed, that means the product is not good to use.
Yeah.
So typically, like a product like a curd, whether it has become rancid or not, is something which can be seen from a color coding. So this is, I call it interactive packaging, where a consumer, when he lifts, by the virtue of a color code change, can relate it with the product, whether the product is good to use or not good to use. So this is something which the journey has already started. I think many of us, we go to modern trade or we go to retail outlets. This kind of products are available, but it comes with a cost. It comes today with some niche products, but
Yeah.
maybe going forward, the economics will change and it will be applying to many other places.
Yeah. And again, you were talking about traceability in packaging. Of course, packaging that tracks back. So on that front, how scalable is it? First, A, and number two is that recently I think couple of months ago we attended a conference organized by ESPA on counterfeiting. So even they touched upon the track and trace aspect of it. So how do you think the traceability aspect is working well in the Indian packaging fraternity, and what is the scale? For example, say MSMEs who would like to have such solutions or in place.
See, traceability today, if you see, the basic answer is QR code.
Yeah.
If you do a QR code, I think the entire value systems or entire supply chain, you can correlate right from the product origin to finally reaching the consumer.
Yeah.
Because again, if it is like any given case which hasn't gone right, or maybe there is a market complaint or there is a product return, or if there is any eventuality, how is that you can relate it with the traceability at the back end?
Yeah.
So I think QR code is one thing which I think the manufacturer to the distributor to the retailer and finally to the consumer, I think everybody can see a common platform of relating and going back to the origin and finally the product, whether it has been safe and sound,
Yeah.
or the product has been a recall, or there has been any challenges. So one of the things which I see today, which is happening very rigorously, is definitely QR code. And maybe a similar activities may again come up further, but QR code is something which is very active and very prominent, which the consumers have been able to relate, and I think it is making sense to both the brand owners
Yeah.
as well as to the consumers.
And again, so talking about on the material front, with the rising raw material prices, the industry something alludes to as plastic shock. So how do you think converters survive when they can't pass the cost to brands
It's
in
a
such
it's a very
scenarios?
difficult and a very painful question as a head of business, because we as an industry, we are already at the rock bottom. To be very fact, we are an industry who deals with two large giants,
Yeah.
the Exxons and the Dow Chemicals of the world, who are our raw material suppliers, and maybe the Nestle's and the Unilevers of the world, who are the large buyers.
Yeah.
So both have the muscle power, the financial power to sustain many things and absorb many things
Yeah.
over a period of time. But we are what? We are a processor.
Yeah.
We ultimately buy material and we process.
Yeah.
So there has to be a partnership model. It
Yeah.
is not about absorbing cost. If my margins are extremely high, I can absorb cost. But if I am already at a threshold level, for me to absorb this kind of high inflation or surge of raw material, which I
Yeah.
spoke in my presentation, is to the extent of almost 100% plus. There is no way I can absorb any cost. So
Yeah.
as I said in my presentation, the approach for all of us should be a partnership. I am not talking about a price increase, I'm talking about a cost increase. And today's market scenario is more of a force major.
Yeah.
Despite of paying inflated prices, as a converter, we are unable to fetch material because,
Yeah.
as we know, sea routes are already sealed. Manufacturers who are sitting in the Middle East, they are unable to produce due to the
Yeah.
impact of Iran war. So European manufacturers' energy costs have gone up. They are unable to sustain those costs. So there are multiple challenges in our industry which we are facing. And saying so, if this in true sense are not understood by our partners and have a handshake, then over a period of time, sustaining this and to move it further would be a challenging.
Yeah. And the first session of the ResPack conference, of course, which was talking about recycling polymers and recycling films. So there is no way to differentiate between a recycled laminate and a non-recycled laminate. So they almost look identical to the naked eye. So how can industry fix the sorting errors at the bins itself or at the collection
See,
systems?
it's again a subject which needs to be addressed not only by one stakeholder,
Yeah.
it needs to be addressed by the entire system.
Yeah.
We need to have proper collection mechanism. Despite of all the efforts, I would say the collection mechanism has evolved. It still has come into place in some form, but finally end consumers like us, how much are we abiding? Like even at our home, dry waste and wet waste, are we really segregating? Even if there are bins placed outside a retail outlet,
Yeah.
are we really knowing or are we really using those bins for the right reasons? So it's again the entire system. Like in Europe, if you go, it is well sorted. So that's why the segregation is so easy. So the recyclability also is easy.
Yeah.
I would say in India, recyclability is not a challenge. Recyclability, any material, packaging material is recyclable.
Yeah.
It is the collection which has to be in place to bring the recyclability totally under control.
Yeah.
So I would say the awareness of people, understanding of need of the segregations, collection support by whether the government, whether by brand, whether by dealer, distributor, and finally consumer. It has to work hand in hand. Then only this mechanism will work. Otherwise, on a standalone, it looks difficult.
So, just a quick follow up. Do you think the system, the sophisticated system that is based in the West, can be replicated in India easily, or where does India stand
See,
currently?
it is again a very difficult question to answer because you look at the population of Western countries against the population of India. It's a task by itself, but somewhere it has to start.
Yeah.
And it's not that it will happen overnight, but with the literacy level, education level, and with the way India is a growing economy, and all these facts would definitely make an impact of getting the system evolved over a period of time. We have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
We have to give that effort, a serious effort, and we have to make it work. Otherwise, this nuisance value will continue, and we will live with this problem forever.
Absolutely, yeah. Well said. So, final couple of thoughts before we let you go. So, one of your slides mentioned commoditization versus customization. So, if you can just elaborate on that, what you meant by that, and what is the message for the brand owners with this?
The message is extremely clear. One hand, we are talking about sustainability, and which is away from commodity. Sustainability requires what? Sustainability requires high quality raw material.
Yeah.
It requires processing capability.
Yeah.
And you need investment on soft skills like people. You need good labs, and finally to establish that product at the brand owner's end.
Yeah.
So when you expect something which is different from the commodity market, like a typical BOPP or a polyester poly structure, then there is definitely, it cannot be coming at a cost to cost. So you cannot place a apple against a banana and say, no, I need both at the same price. A banana will cost as a banana and an apple will cost as an apple.
Yeah.
So you have to differentiate. So I would like to say, what holds good today is not what you're asking for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So when you're asking for tomorrow, there is obviously a cost increase which has to be understood, and this needs to be amicably found a way. If it is not found, then it will only remain a topic in summits like this, and finally we will remain with those products or
Yeah.
those solutions which has been holding good for maybe last 3 decades. So this is what I meant about commodity and about specialization.
Yeah. So one final question: whenever you go to any supermarket, so when you see such brands or such packets on the shelf, do you wear your Jupiter Laminates hat and see something unique, or think about something that you could have done differently for that particular brand or a product?
No, I obviously wear a Jupiter hat being a Jupiter CEO, but I don't go to a retail or a modern trade to look at Jupiter, but I really would like to have an eye towards what I am not doing and what others are doing.
Yeah.
So my eye is more towards about competition. My eye is more towards about what I should be doing, which I'm not doing now.
Yeah.
And moving towards the next level of journey, because what I am doing is known to me. But what am I not doing is
Yeah.
something which the market or the modern trade or the retail will give me an eye opener
Yeah.
for me to take that journey forward. So it is more looking at the far side than of looking only from the Jupiter aspect.
That's amazing. So, a great conversation with Mr. Nag, the CEO of Jupiter Laminators. one final thing is that this is for you. The What Packaging magazine has a new look, rebranded, refurbished, and repackaged with the
Looks
new
wonderful.
branding. So this is for you. We are here launching it at the ResPack.
Superb.
Thank you.
Congratulations. And my compliments to the Print Week team. I think you guys have been doing wonderful job in the packaging industry, and I think kudos to you, to Mr. Ramanathan, and to the entire team who has been behind this success story. And it has been pleasure being here and having a short conversation with you. Thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nag.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.